Hi everyone. Let us study the topic structure of pollen grain. Palynology. The study of pollen grain is called palynology. Pollen grain is a male gametophyte. It is unicellular and haploid. It is a tiny, spiny, spherical in shape. If you take the shape of the pollen grain, it is very small, spherical in shape, measuring about 25 to 50 in diameter. The wall of the pollen grain is called sporoderm. जिस तरह से हम फ्रूट के वॉल को पेरिकार्प, मिसोकार्प, एंडोकार्प इस तरह से डिवाइड करते हैं, यहाँ पे इसके वॉल को स्पोरोडम कहा जाता है। और स्पोरोडम में दो तरह के वॉल होते हैं, एक को कहा जाता है एक्साइन, द अनदर वन इज इंटाइन. Exine is a outermost harder layer and intine is a thin continuous layer. Let us study about the exine. Exine is a harder layer, outermost layer. It is made up of sporopollenin, which is highly resistant organic material. It can tolerate to high temperature, strong acid, alkalis, and no enzyme on earth has been made to degrade this sporopollenin. Due to this only, these pollen grains are preserved for so many years as a fossil. It also possesses a protein called protein for the enzymatic action and compatibility and pollen pistil interaction. Exine has having a prominent pore aperture, and that is called as a germ pore, from where the pollen tube emerges out at the time of fertilization. Intine. Intine is a thin layer, continuous, made up of cellulose and pectin. These cellulose and pectin help the intine for the germination of pollen tube. Intine comes out of the germ pore in the form of pollen tube. These intine come outside in the form of pollen tube. This is the structure of pollen grain. This is the outer layer. This is the inner layer. This is the vegetative cell. This is genitive cell. And the genitive cell is a small spindle shaped and both are having the nucleus. This is the vegetative cell nucleus. This is the genitive cell nucleus. This is the pollen tube germination. When it goes on the fall on the stigma, it will generate the pollen tube, reach through the style to the stigma. Formation of haploid male gamete. We know this pollen grain is haploid. At the maturity, pollen contain two cells. One is genitive, another one is vegetative. Vegetative cell and genitive cell. Vegetative cell is bigger as compared to genitive cell. It is a big, having abundant food, reserve food material, and having very irregular large nucleus, and it is only one responsible for the growth of the pollen tube. Genitive cell is small and floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. It is smaller shaped, it is spindle shaped with a dense cytoplasm and a nucleus. In most of the angiosperm, most of the means maximum 60% of the angiosperm, pollen grain are shed at 2 cell stage, and in another species pollen grain shed at 3 cell stage. These genitive cells divide mitotically by the mitosis to form the two male gametes. These are the stages of the microspore maturing into pollen grain. This is a pollen tetrad. How this is going to form a pollen grain. Thank you.